Muhammad Ali Jinnah, commonly known as Quaid-i-Azam, the Great Leader, was an Indian Muslim politician who served as the first Governor-General of Pakistan, 1947–48, and was born in Karachi, India, now Pakistan, on December 25, 1876. The wealthy merchant Jinnah Punja and his wife Mithabai had 7 children, with Jinnah being the oldest. His family was from the Khoja caste, a group of Hindus who had adopted Islam centuries earlier and were Aga Khan devotees. There is significant controversy around Jinnah's birth date, despite his claims that it was December 25, 1876, Karachi, Pakistan. School records indicate that he was really born on October 20. Jinnah was sent to Karachi's Madressatul Islam University in 1887 after receiving his education at home. Afterwards, he studied at the Christian Missionary Society High School, also in Karachi, and at the age of 16, he passed the University of Bombay's matriculation test there, now the University of Mumbai, in Mumbai, India. His father chose to send him to England in order for him to gain business experience, on the recommendation of an English acquaintance. But Jinnah had already made up his mind to become a lawyer. His parents set up an early marriage for him before he left for England, in accordance with the custom of the time. He entered Lincoln's Inn in London, one of the legal organizations that helped students get ready for the bar. He was admitted to the bar in 1895, when he was 19 years old. Jinnah lost his mother and wife, 2 very significant losses, when he was in London. Even so, he finished his official education and began to learn about the British political system by routinely attending the House of Commons. In 1892, the year Jinnah arrived in London, William E. Gladstone was elected Prime Minister for the 4th time, and his liberalism had a significant impact on him. Jinnah was also very interested in Indian politics and Indian students. Jinnah and other Indian students labored day and night for the Parsi leader Dadabhai Nehru, a prominent Indian nationalist, when he campaigned for the British Parliament. Nehru became the first Indian to hold a seat in the House of Commons, which was the culmination of their work. In 1896, Jinnah went back to Karachi only to discover that his father's business had incurred losses, and he was now left to fend for himself. He chose Bombay, now Mumbai, as the location of his legal practice, but it took him years of effort to become well known in the legal community. The first time he became actively involved in politics was over 10 years later. He was an uninterested man who split his time between politics and the law. He was neither a zealot for any one religion nor a member of any particular sect. Rather, he identified as a Muslim in the broadest sense. Rattenbai, Rutti, the daughter of Bombay Parsi magnate Sir Dinshaw Petit. He married her in 1918, despite fierce resistance from her family and others. Dina was the only child they had together, but the marriage was miserable, and Jinnah and Rutti soon divorced. He had comfort and friendship from his sister, Fatima. Jinnah first entered politics by taking part in the 1906 meeting of the Indian National Congress Party, which was held in Calcutta, currently Kolkata. At this meeting, the party started to splinter between those who wanted India to have dominion status and those who wanted it to be independent. He won election to the Imperial Legislative Council 4 years later, marking the start of a lengthy and illustrious career in politics. He met Gopal Krishna Gokhale, the illustrious Maratha politician, in Bombay, along with other significant Congress Party figures. Because of their influence, Jinnah sought to become a Muslim Gokhale in the early stages of his political career. His policies were primarily driven by admiration for British political institutions, a desire to advance India's standing in the world, and a desire to instill a sense of Indian nationalism in the Indian people. He continued to view Muslim interests within the framework of Indian nationalism at that time. Yet, by the turn of the 20th century, the Muslims had come to believe that their interests dictated the maintenance of their distinct identity, rather than fusion with the Indian nation, which would essentially be Hindu. The All India Muslim League was established in 1906, primarily to protect Muslim interests. But Jinnah stayed distant from it. Jinnah didn't join the League until 1913, after being confidently told that it was equally committed to the political freedom of India as the Congress Party. He was chosen to lead the Bombay chapter of the Indian Home Rule League as its principal organizer when it was established. Jinnah was dubbed the best ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity by Gokul for his efforts to bring about the political union of Muslims and Hindus. He played a significant role in the Congress Party and the Muslim League's decision to jointly host their annual meetings in order to promote mutual consultation and participation. The two groups met in Bombay in 1915 and in Lucknow in 1916, the latter of which saw the signing of the Lucknow Accord. In accordance with the agreement's conditions, the two groups signed up on a plan for constitutional reform that became their common demand of the British government. Although there was a lot of back and forth, the Muslims did manage to secure one significant concession in the form of separate electorates, which had previously been granted to them by the government in 1909 but had previously been rejected by Congress. Meanwhile, Mohandas, Mahatma, Gandhi had emerged as a new political force in India. He had gained control of both the Congress Party and the Home Rule League. Jinnah left the League and the Congress Party in 1920 due to his opposition to Gandhi's non-cooperation movement and his primarily Hindu style of politics. He distanced himself from the major political movements for a period of time. He persisted in supporting constitutional means of achieving political aims and Hindu-Muslim harmony. Following his resignation from Congress, he spread his ideas through the Muslim League's platform. But throughout the 1920s, Congress and the Muslim Caliphate movement, which focused on religion, eclipsed the Muslim League and, with it, Jinnah. The Muslim League started to lose strength and cohesion as a result of the failure of the non-cooperation movement and the emergence of Hindu revivalist movements, which resulted in animosity and riots between Hindus and Muslims. As a result, provincial Muslim leaders established their own parties to meet their needs. Hence, Jinnah's challenge in the years that followed was to transform the Muslim League into an informed, united political force ready to collaborate with other groups advancing India's interests. Additionally, he had to persuade the Congress Party that resolving the Hindu-Muslim dispute was essential for electoral advancement. Throughout the late 1920s and early 1930s, Jinnah's main goal was to effectuate this rapprochement. In the Legislative Assembly, at the Round Table Conference in London, 1930-1922, and through his 14 points, which included calls for a federal system of government, expanded rights for minorities, and one-third Muslim representation. In the central legislature, he pushed towards this goal. The division of the Bombay province into its mostly Muslim Sindh region and the Northwest Frontier province, and the implementation of reforms there. He became dissatisfied when he was unable to make even small changes to the Nehru Committee proposals, 1928, regarding the issue of separate electorates and the reservation of seats for Muslims in the legislatures. He was in an odd situation at the time since the Congress Party would not even come close to accommodating the moderate Muslim demands, while many Muslims believed that his policy was excessively patriotic and that Muslim interests were not secure in his hands. The Muslim League was, in fact, a divided house against itself. After rejecting Jinnah's leadership, the Punjab Muslim League established itself independently. Jinnah chose to relocate to England out of disgust. He stayed in London from 1930 to 1935 and focused on his work as a Privy Council attorney. But he was convinced to go back home and lead a reformed Muslim League when constitutional changes were on the horizon. The Government of India Act of 1935's election preparations soon got underway. Jinnah was still considering how the Muslim League and the Hindu-controlled Congress Party might work together, as well as coalition governments in the provinces. Nonetheless, the 1937 elections turned out to be a major turning point in the interactions between the two groups. The League did not perform exceptionally well, and Congress won an absolute majority in 6 provinces. Exclusive all-Congress governments were the outcome after the Congress Party chose not to include the League in the creation of provincial administrations. As Hindu-Muslim relations began to deteriorate, Muslim anger quickly grew to be limitless. Sir Muhammad Iqbal, a poet and philosopher, proposed the idea of Pakistan to the Muslim League Conference in 1930. At first, Jinnah had doubts about Pakistan's viability, but he soon came to believe that a Muslim homeland on the Indian subcontinent was the only way to protect Muslim interests and the Muslim way of life. He was more afraid of Muslims being excluded from all opportunities for growth within India once control was vested in the close-knit Hindu social organization than he was of religious persecution. He launched a national effort to warn his fellow Muslims about the dangers of their position in order to protect against that threat, and he transformed the Muslim League into a potent tool for bringing Muslims together as a country. Jinnah became the head of the emerging Muslim nation at that time. Everything started to move quickly. In Lahore, on March 22-23 of that year, the League decided to create Pakistan as a separate Muslim state. The Congress Party initially mocked and later vehemently rejected the idea of Pakistan. But it sparked the Muslims' imaginations. Numerous, powerful Hindus, including Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru, were pitted against Jinnah. Also, it appeared that the British government was committed to upholding the political stability of the Indian subcontinent. But because of the competence and perseverance with which Jinnah guided his campaign, the Congress Party and the British government were ultimately forced to accept the division of India. Pakistan became a sovereign nation in 1947. Jinnah became the fledgling state's first ruler. He dealt with Pakistan's issues with authority as a young nation with major concerns. He wasn't just thought of as the governor-general. He was regarded as the nation's founding father. In Karachi, Pakistan, the city of his origin, he toiled tirelessly until he was overcome by aging and illness in 1948. Press generate on the right to generate speech, or visit project settings to turn on auto-generation. For more tips, click on the question mark on the bottom left corner. Happy creating!